Ouch! One day a man walked into a shop and saw a cute little dog. He asked the shopkeeper, "Does your dog bite?" Busy checking out another customer, the shopkeeper answered, "No, my dog does not bite." But when the man tried to pet the dog bit him. "Ouch," said the customer. "I thought you said your dog did not bite." "That," replied the shopkeeper, "is not my dog." Go out for more. One Saturday afternoon, a grasshopper, a snail, and a centipede were sitting around drinking beer. When they had emptied the last can, they decided one of them should go down to the 7-Eleven for more. The snail offered, "I'd go, but I'm kinda slow." The grasshopper said, "I don't mind going, but my hopping will shake up the beer and will get sprayed every time we open one." Consequently, they decided to send the centipede. When an hour or so had passed and the centipede still hadn't returned, the snail and the grasshopper decided to go look for him. They only got as far as the front door when they found the centipede sitting there, still putting on his shoes. A second opinion. When a man wasn't feeling well, he went to the doctor, who said, "You are very, very ill." Upset with the news, the patient replied to the doctor, "Can I get a second opinion?" "Of course," said the doctor. "You're also quite ugly." It hurts. In pain, a man went to the doctor and said, "Doctor, wherever I touch, it hurts." So the doctor asked him what he meant by that. To which the man responded, "When I touch my shoulder, it really hurts. If I touch my knee, ouch. When I touch my forehead, it really, really hurts." Nodding his head, the doctor said, "I know exactly what's wrong with you. You've broken your finger." The snail in the bar. It was Saturday night, and a snail walked into a crowded bar. When the barman saw him, he told him that there was a strict policy against having snails in the bar. So the bartender immediately kicked him out. A year later, the same snail re-entered the bar, approached the barman, and asked, "What'd you do that for?" In the metro station. It was Monday morning and class had started when a student arrived late to school. "Why are you late?" asked the instructor. The student explained that there was a fuss at the metro station where a man had lost a $100 bill. Smiling, the teacher replied, "Oh, I see. So you were helping him look for it." "No," replied the student, "I was standing on it." 24 hours. Late one afternoon, a man received a phone call from his doctor. "I have some good news and some bad news," said the doctor. "Okay," the man said. "Give me the good news first." The doctor replied, "The good news is you have 24 hours to live." Shocked, the man responded, "Oh no, if that's the good news, then what's the bad news?" "Unfortunately," answered the doctor, "the bad news is I was supposed to call you yesterday." The verb tense. It was grammar class, and Miss Becky stood at the board and told the students, "Today we're going to talk about the tenses. For example, if I say, 'I am beautiful,' which tense is that?" One student smiled and said, "That's obviously the past tense." In 50 years. 3 elderly gentlemen were talking about what their grandchildren would be saying about them in 50 years' time. The first said, "I would like my grandchildren to say he was great fun to be with." 50 years from now, said the second, "I want mine to say He was a loyal and loving family man. Turning to the third man, they asked, "So what do you want them to say about you in 50 years?" "I want them to say," the third man replied, "he looks really good for his age." Aliens on a train. Two aliens were traveling from Disneyland to LA on a train, and they wanted a snack for the trip. They had never seen bananas before, so they each bought one. The first alien eagerly peeled and bit into his banana just as the train went into a tunnel. When the train emerged from the tunnel, he looked across to his companion and said, "I wouldn't eat that if I were you." "Why not?" asked his friend. "I took one bite and went blind for half a minute," he answered. The restaurants. There were 3 restaurants on the same block. One day, one of them put up a sign which said, "The best restaurant in the city." The next day, the largest restaurant on the block put up a larger sign that read, "The best restaurant in the world." On the third day, the smallest restaurant put up a small sign which said, "The best restaurant on this block." The baby on the bus. One day, when a woman got on a bus holding a baby, the driver said, "That's the ugliest baby I've ever seen." After she sat down, the man seated next to her sensed that she was agitated and asked her what was wrong. "The bus driver insulted me," she fumed. The man sympathized and said, "Why, he's a public servant and shouldn't say things to insult passengers." "You are absolutely right," she said. "I think I'll go back up there and give him a piece of my mind." "That's a good idea," the man said. "Here, let me hold your monkey." The trip to Honolulu. 2 beginning ESL students went to Honolulu for the weekend. Soon they began to argue about the correct way to pronounce the word Hawaii. One student insisted it was Hawaii with a W sound. The other student said it was pronounced like Hawaii with a V sound. Finally, they saw an old native on the beach and asked him which was correct. The old man said it's Hawaii. The student who was right was very happy and thanked the old man. The old man smiled and said, "You are welcome." What's for lunch? At breakfast one morning, a boy said to his father, "I don't want to go to school today." "Why not, son?" asked the dad. "Well," explained the boy, "one of the chickens on the school farm died last week, and we had chicken soup for lunch the next day. Then, 3 days ago, one of the pigs died, and we had roast pork the next day." "I understand," answered the father, "but why don't you want to go to school today?" "Because our English teacher died yesterday," said the son. What Mama Wants. 3 rich brothers each wanted to do something special for their elderly mother on Mother's Day. The first brother bought her a huge house. The second brother gave her a limousine. The third brother remembered that his mother used to love to read Shakespeare, but couldn't see well anymore. So he got her a specially trained parrot that could recite poetry. Soon the brothers received thank you notes from their mother. The first son's note said, "The house you bought me is much, much too big." The second son got a note that said, "I rarely leave the house anymore, so I don't need the limo you gave me." The third son's note said, "My favorite son, you know exactly what your mother loves. The chicken was delicious." The elevator. A country boy and his father were visiting a mall in a big city. Many things surprised them, but they were especially amazed by 2 shiny silver walls that could move apart and back together again. When the boy asked, "What is that, Father?" The older man replied, "Son, I have never seen anything like this in my whole life. I have no idea what it is." While the boy and his father stood watching, a very old lady in a wheelchair rolled up to the moving walls and pressed a button. After the walls opened, the lady rolled between them into a small room. The walls closed, and the boy and his father watched small circles of lights with numbers above the walls light up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They continued to watch as the circles lit up in the reverse direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The walls opened up again, and a beautiful young woman stepped out. When he saw this, the father shouted to his son, "Go get your mother." Sheep. A flock of sheep were grazing in a field, happily saying "Ba, ba" to each other, and discussing life as usual, when suddenly they heard "Moo, moo, moo." The sheep looked around to see where the cow was, but they could see only sheep, so they carried on grazing as before. "Moo, moo, moo," they heard again. One sheep could clearly hear the mooing nearby. He turned to his sheep friend next to him with a worried look on his face and asked, "George, why are you saying moo? You're a sheep. Sheep say ba." His friend proudly replied, I know, but I thought it would be a good idea to practice a foreign language." Before the problems start. One Friday after work, a man walked into a bar and said, "Give me a beer before the problems start." He drank the beer and then ordered another one, saying, "Give me a beer before the problems start." The bartender looked confused. This went on for a while, and after the fifth beer, the bartender was totally confused. So he asked the man, "When are you going to pay for these beers?" The man answered, "Now is when the problems start." Whose dog is smarter? One Sunday morning, two proud dog owners were arguing about whose dog was smarter. The first woman said, "My dog's so smart. Every afternoon he waits for the mailman to come around. He then opens the mailbox and brings the letters to me." The second woman replied, "I know." Surprised, the first woman asked, "How do you know about that?" The second woman answered, "My dog told me." Twins. When a poor woman had twin boys, she felt compelled to give them up for adoption. One twin was sent to a family in Egypt and was named Amal, while the other went to Spain and was named Juan. Many years later, Juan learned the identity of his birth mother and sent her his picture. Upon receiving it, she told her husband that she wished she also had a picture of Amal. Her husband replied, "But they are twins. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all." Clothing store. Roseanne, a beautiful young foreigner, walked into a small clothing store in the mall with her boyfriend. "Excuse me," said her fiancé, with just a touch of an accent, "would it be okay with you if my bride-to-be tried on the dress in the window?" "Listen," said the owner after just a brief pause. "Business has been slow here for a while now. If you're fine with her changing in the window, let her go ahead. Maybe it will bring in a few new customers." A very bad day. There was this quiet guy sitting alone at the bar, staring at his drink, when a large, trouble-making biker stepped up, grabbed his drink, and gulped it down in one swig. "Well, what you gonna do about it?" the biker asked menacingly, as the quiet dude burst into tears. "Come on, man," the biker said. "I didn't think you'd cry. I can't stand to see a man cry." "This is the worst day of my life," the quiet guy said. "I'm a complete failure. I was late to a meeting and my boss fired me. When I got to the parking lot, I found my car had been stolen. I left my wallet in the cab I took home. I found my old lady in bed with the gardener, and then my dog bit me. So," the quiet guy continued, "I came to this bar to work up the courage to put an end to it all. I bought a drink, dropped a capsule in, and was just sitting here watching the poison dissolve. Then you showed up and drank the whole thing. But enough about me. How's your day going?"